us just a minute here and we are going to get things set up. Hope you are having a great Tuesday, and we're going to have you take just a moment and go to the bit.ly link, LOL Ticket In, and take a minute and give us some feedback, and we'll get started in just a minute here. I'm telling you, we're living and learning as we go every time we host one of these. Or just...
Well, it's an extra challenge today because we're here together. We can't both be logged in, or we get that weird echoey chamber thing going on.
Why don't we just take turns unmuting and just say hi, it's Jen, or hi, and just take turns and just say hi.
Hi, it's Jody.
Hello, it's Colette.
Hi, it's Lori.
Hi, it's Maggie.
Great. Welcome, guys. Anyone else? We'll give you just a minute, and we're going to do something that I haven't done before. We're going to play a little bit with Pear Deck. Now, I've used Pear Deck quite a bit, but I've only used it for my classes that are online. So I launch Pear Deck for them to go through lessons or go through activities asynchronously. They can kind of go through it at their own pace. But I use the same exact lesson, and my two colleagues launch the same thing in online live sessions. So it's kind of like Kahoot, where you can do it live with the class in real time, or you can launch it for them to participate independently. So you guys are going to help me out. This is my first time and Mary's first time doing it in a live online session. Like I said, I've done it a lot asynchronously, but doing it in this mode is going to be new for me. So we're going to play around and experiment a little bit. So I am going to go ahead and start the lesson. One of the things that I want to share, not right now, but Pear Deck is what they call an add-on. And so if you can see my screen right here where I'm pointing to add-ons, you click on that, and Pear Deck, the first time you'll enable it and then you will launch it. But it is an add-on for Google Slides. So I'm going to go ahead and start the lesson by clicking here to launch a Pear Deck session in your class. So I have always done student-paced activity, and I just give them a code and they go through and do the entire lesson or the entire activity. Today I'm going to do something new that I think will be great for live online. I know Andrea and Rose, two of my colleagues, have done this a lot online, and they said they've just absolutely loved it for that session. I'm going to do an instructor pace, and sometimes you have to reauthorize it. Yep, it's me on this account. Okay, I grant permission. Sign your life away for Pear Deck. Okay, and this will be the launch screen that your students will see. If you want, you can have this screen open when they first come in, and this will be the place where they will add that or go to. So it actually works really good on your phone. So you can use your phone, or you can open another window and go to joinpd.com. So it's joinpd.com, just like if you were joining a Kahoot. I've played it a couple times where I've launched it as a teacher and I've played it on my phone. So the interface on the phone is really great if you want to use that. If not, go ahead and open a new window and go to joinpd.com. And then you are going to add the code NMB, New Muffins Bravely, AOM. Award Orange Muffins. I can see there's 5 students in. This is how you'll monitor to track that your students are all here for the day or how many have joined. So we are waiting for a few more of you to go to joinpd.com and add the NMB AOM. So we've got Maddie, Andrea, Carol, Colette, John, Joni, Leslie, Lori, Terry. Got 8 students in there, waiting for 2 more. And I'm going to go ahead and launch. You guys can continue to join. And this is where you might want to do an icebreaker or let somebody tell a joke or do something. Again, this can be your home screen when you're starting that class session. You can welcome students to the session and say, today we're going to be doing a Pear Deck activity, joinpd.com, and add the code. So we've got 9 in. We're going to go ahead. When you're ready and you feel like all of your students are ready to go, you can go ahead and click Start the Class, and that will take you back to your home slide. Now, as an instructor, you're going to navigate from this bottom left-hand corner. You can see we're on slide 1 of 21. This is where you'll always go to navigate. So I will click the next slide. And even though you went to the survey and entered your name, I'm going to have you enter your name here. This is how we log students having completed the Pear Deck activity, or we can match which responses at the end went with which student, because they'll all get a name. Some of you might be goats. Mary, what were you yesterday, a bunny?
Yeah, I'm a kangaroo today.
Today you're a kangaroo. I think I've been a wolf. So go ahead and log in. And as an instructor, you can show responses. Use this little icon down here, and you can see who has all logged in. So I've got Lori, Joni, John, Colette is the crab, Terry, Beth, Leslie, Mary, and Andrea are all in. So anytime you want to show the responses that the students are in, you can do that and then hide the responses again. So that's kind of nice that if it's something that you want everybody to see, you can absolutely do that. And I typically wouldn't do this. You can check this for attendance later. But you can see on polls and things how the response is. So once you've done your name, I want you to just answer a getting started question. So good afternoon. We want to always engage students right from the start. When I launched Pear Deck the first time with students, I did a lot of different types of questions, so they got used to the format. So the question for today is, what's your favorite candy? You should get a text box that pops up either on your phone or on your computer, and you can enter my favorite candy is, and I like it because. This first slide is often a good time to let students get caught up before you dive into content. Some take a little bit longer with the technology logging in. It can be a warm-up or an icebreaker, and how are you feeling kind of question, or it can be instructions. Here's what we're going to need for today. Get out your book and have this slide ready. This is also a great place to access prior knowledge of the topic. So today we're going to be talking about X, Y, and Z. What do you already know about this topic? And again, if I want to show responses, we can say, oh, somebody says it depends on my mood. Almond Joy. Reese's, peanut butter is the best. Oh, dark chocolate with acai. That is very good. Carmelo, yummy caramel and chocolate, two of my favorite things. Snickers, because of the combo of ingredients. So you can see how you can go through each of the students' responses. Okay, I just gotta ask, who likes sugar-free dark chocolate? Sugar-free? Maybe we'll have to try it.
That'd be me.
That'd be you, Jody. I should have known. You're so healthy. That would be you. Okay, again, to navigate, I'm gonna go to the bottom left-hand corner and go to the next slide. So I want you to think about what kind of mindset do you want your ideal student to have coming in. So whether it be coming into your course or reading the content, just in a word or two, what are some of the things that you would like for them to have a mindset? Our topic today is engagement. So one of those that I would list would be, I would want them to be engaged. So just share an idea. It just has to be a word or two. We're just practicing at this point. So you can see this is a text response where you get to do a free comment and there's no word limit. So we've got eager to learn, curious, ooh, willingness to ask questions, present, inquisitive, I like that, and curious. The thing I like about this is you can see it reflects real time what students are writing. And when we do a multiple choice in just a minute, you can see if students change their answer, it changes. So eager to learn or adapt, open-minded. Another thing that I really like is on the instructor screen. So if you're presenting, you've got that code there at all times where you can say a student comes in and they're like, sorry, I'm late to class. You say, go to joinpd.com, and then you can give them that code to add. So they can still add at any time. When I first started playing around with Pear Deck about a year ago, codes were only 3 or 4 letters long, so I think there's a lot more people using it now that they're getting a lot longer. All right, we did some brainstorming and we said ideally we'd like our students engaged, that's the topic for today, accountable, thinking critically, excited to learn, and motivated. One of the things that I've personally struggled with having students online is I might have a great video, or I might put together a lesson, or I might put together a set of Google Slides like this teaching content, but how do I hold them accountable for doing it? So adding the Pear Deck has been fantastic because students can go through at their own pace when they're doing this asynchronously, go through it at their own pace. They do enter their responses, and at the end, I'll show you the spreadsheet that you get of responses. So they could all be doing at different times, and yet it holds them accountable for going through the slides. Say maybe there's some content that you wanted to push out there, or extra content that you don't have time to cover in that live class time or face-to-face. You could put it out and students could do it independently. Okay, again, when I launched, you get 2 ways to play, and I think this was the big time seller for me because there's 3 of us teaching the same course, so as we're designing content, we said we all want to be able to utilize this, but utilize it in the different modes. So at the end, I'm going to have Andreas share some tips and tricks because she's what I would consider a pro, much more so than me, as far as doing the instructor paced activity, where I have done the student paced a lot. So nice platform for both, and you get to pick. Some of my favorite things is I think it's great for all modalities because you can launch it in either format.
And then you can also use it with, I know Jen's using it with Google Slides, but we almost always in Basecamp have people say, well, what about PowerPoint? So we looked it up, and yes, it plays with, you can see in the bottom corner, Pear Deck Brags. They made their own. It plays with Microsoft and it plays with Google Slides.
So that's one of the neat things about it is you can use it in all modalities and in multiple platforms. The other thing that I really like is it's got this template library, and you can play around with it a little bit later, but when you open up this template library by clicking this arrow, they've got a whole host of sample template questions for the beginning of your session, for the middle of the session, and then some also for the end of the session.
And I, of course, like that you can make your own because I like to create stuff from scratch.
Absolutely. And then these are the variety of question types that you can ask. Text, you guys have done a couple of those already. In a moment, we'll do some multiple choice. Number, website, draw, and this is drag. These are with the premium feature, but right now they have 90 days free. The draw and the drag, the 2 on the bottom, are with the premium feature. So again, it's 90 days free. I don't know that I would purchase it afterwards. I see most of my questions that I'm doing tend to be text and multiple choice, but it's something you can play around with, or at least play around with those features now. The other thing I like is that I think it will work pretty much with any discipline.
Yeah, again, it's this, have gone through Basecamp 12 times. Sometimes the room for improvement that people say is, well, why aren't you giving us more XYZ discipline? You know, we'd like to see more STEM. We'd like to see more performing arts. We don't see how this applies to fill in the blank. And it really seems like if you stretch your imagination a little, take a look through what they have. They show examples for different subject areas, and granted, they're more K-12. But if you use your creativity, then you can figure out how to get it to apply to pretty much any discipline.
Absolutely. This is a screenshot, but in the Pear Deck app below this, they've got different areas like critical thinking, math, all of these different, when you open up the template libraries, English language arts, social and emotional learning. There's some great like temperature check kinds of questions. So there's a whole bank to pick from, and it gives you some ideas on ways that you can use it as well. So just so we can see live time, what format are you teaching in this semester? This should prompt you to answer a multiple choice question. I know you've already answered it in the activity at opening. What I like to do is show, just so students can see in class, we've got some live online, some online, and some 2 or more. And as people change their answers or add, you can see that graph changes pretty dynamically as people are answering. So we've got 4 in 2 or more modalities. We've got 1 doing only online and 2 doing live online. Okay, so right here is your expertise team. You guys in the audience right now doing 2 or more modalities. That's crazy. Okay, this is a drawing one, so you should be prompted. You'll get a little text or a panel at the very bottom. You can text, so you can write over the top of this, you can circle, you can pick your colors. So just take a minute and play. How are you feeling today? Sometimes students will color them in, sometimes they'll circle them, sometimes they'll write on them as well. So just play around with the tools a little bit there. There's an eraser at the very bottom screen right next to the text. You want to see what that's like? And then, of course, you can show responses and say, let's see how our classmates are feeling. One of the things I like about this is it's anonymous, so we're not seeing who had this all black and then kind of erased it. You're just seeing the responses without, so there's no that sense of I have to be right because it's going to unveil. And it's a really good temperature check for you as a teacher to see, are they with us or are they not with us? So somebody says they're not quite sure how they're feeling yet. I think someone's got feeling pretty green.
And notice at the bottom on the draw slides, you also can have them draw and type. So there's a text selection that you could draw what you wanted and then type how you feel, as you have right here, overwhelmed.
So this person did both a circle and did text. I hear you. I feel like I'm living in this circle right now. Overwhelmed circle.
A little to the right.
Yes. Okay. Little dot there. Let's add a nose. Oh, and we've got a cute stuffed animal. Okay, so this is what's really neat is you can kind of do that temperature check and see where your students are as they, I think this person's going to write exhausted, and I totally get it. There we go. I love the dynamicness of this, that you can kind of see it in real time with students. And if you're asking a question, there's no risk for them feeling like they have to get the right or wrong answer. But you can see if, wow, I guess I need to go through that again. A lot of students didn't quite understand that.
Remember that this draw slides are premium. So you get it, if you sign up as an educator, you get it free for 90 days, you said. I already had an account, so I couldn't get the free 90 days. And I went ahead just so that we can continue to play with it this year and a subscription. So if you pay the full year instead of month to month, I worked it out and it works out to 42 cents a day. So if it's something that you, it says The Economist, so it's something that you think you'll really, really use, it's about $11 a month, 42 cents a day.
Have you ever used Pear Deck before? We want to do this so we can model. This is a draggable one, what they call dragging. So you'll see a little blue dot there, and you can drag that to how you're feeling. The other thing that Mary and I discovered when we looked is this tends to be like an X and Y axis, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, you can show responses for whatever you want. Okay, a lot haven't used it before. Some of you have. And again, those of you that have, we're going to have you share some of your tricks at the end. As you can see at the bottom, the instructor gets this little students drag the icon, little prompt there as well. So let's hide those responses and navigate on to the next one.
This is the one, as soon as Jen showed me the yes, no, the horizontal line, and we looked at the back end and looked at what kind of data it generates, on the back end, it actually gives you a scale from 0 to 100, depending on, were they far to the left or were they far to the right? And I'm thinking, well, it looks like it goes in 2 dimensions. So how do I get my students to think, can I really get some mileage out of this and get them to think in 2 dimensions? So here's a 2-dimensional thinking question for you. How would you rate a standard lecture, like a talk and chalk, in terms of ease for the instructor versus added engagement for the student? So the horizontal axis here, to the left is less engagement, to the right is more engagement. And then the vertical is higher is more instructor effort and lower is less instructor effort. So where would you put it? What combination of effort on the part of the instructor and added engagement for the student would you give that?
And the first time that I did this, I already had my Google Slides put together for the activity that I would have done in class, or the lecture or the direct instruction that I would have done in class. So you can start with that Google slide deck that you already have, and then you just add the interaction slides like this. Typically in a class, I wouldn't have necessarily maybe every slide be interactive like this. We just wanted to give you a wide sample or a wide variety. But if you show responses, you can see what people are feeling, that in terms of ease for the instructor versus added engagement for the student. Okay, and let's go to the next one.
And then I decided this is kind of how I would do it, is I just duplicated the question and said, how would you rate interactive slides in terms of ease for the instructor versus added engagement for the student?
Yeah, and then we'll show responses for that right away so you can see. People are moving their little dots. And
you can tell people are trying to decide how much effort it would really be. And it's not much of a learning curve. I was able to create 2 for the first time in the last couple of, create some slides in the last couple of days. And most of you now are to the right in the more engagement, whereas with the straight up lecture, you were with the primarily saying less engagement.
I wonder if students were doing this, if they would change their response based on.
As soon as you show, they feel like, I don't want to be wrong, and then they move it.
Yeah, so that would be interesting to kind of be able to do that as well. Okay. Now locate. Cool map feature here. So this is also a dragging slide. So you are going to grab those icons and drag the icons to the location. Don't panic. Remember, we don't know who you are. And this is one of those things that I think would be great in the live online. Sometimes students don't want to raise their hand, or they don't want to participate because they're afraid, geez, I should know this and I don't know this. I don't want to really stand out. And if you didn't know, now you can kind of see the slide and go, oh yeah, let's all move Europe. So you can kind of see as students are doing that, give them a little bit of time to form their response, and then you can show all the student responses, and then that would give them a chance. Sometimes making that error first is good because they can see this is where I thought it was, and then when you share the screen, they're like, oh, this is where it was. I didn't really know that, or I wouldn't have put it there. So I think that reinforcement, that they see that other people are in the class doing the same activity at the same time, and I get a little bit of satisfaction being the instructor, seeing them all moving and thinking and doing. The other thought is, could I be doing this live online lesson and they've got their camera off and they've got their video off and they're upstairs taking a nap and they'll just set their timer to come back down. So I know that they're engaged even without their cameras on because I see those things moving. And the next one says, draw the line or lines from each image to the top 3 exports of petroleum. So this, you can tell, was done by Mary. So you can draw a line from petroleum to where you think the top location is for exporting. And you can see your draw tools come up there. The text tool is there, the eraser, you can pick different colors. And I will show you on student views. If you feel like students might get stuck, you can go ahead, and there's some value in not showing them everyone else's responses right away, giving them the opportunity to take and make their best guess. But again, low risk here. Now when you think maybe everybody has gotten an idea, you can start to share. Isn't it kind of neat to be able to see where everyone is and what everyone's thinking? And you could certainly comment as you go as instructor if this is something you wanted to provide feedback on. But I really love this show feature, show the representation or the responses.
And again, remember that the drag and the draw features are premium, so you got to decide whether you want to get attached to them or not.
Play them with them first. Okay, I did this on purpose because I wanted to, since mine are asynchronous, students are doing them independently, I've created these little short micro videos or direct instruction for parts that I think are tricky, and I'm like, how does it work if we do a video? So I'm not going to play the video, but you should have the ability to, all on your own, click play. So go ahead and click play. I'm going to start the timer, and it should take, this video is actually 4 minutes long, but I've got a 3-minute timer that I'm going to kind of call you all back on in 3 minutes. So if you're doing live online, Andrea, I know you've done live online before. Do you just time it and then say come back, or how do you do that? You'll unmute and share?
My suggestion with these would be to actually just find a little play icon and put it on your Google slide when you're building it. So then the students are automatically going to gravitate to click the play button, even though you really could click anywhere.
Okay.
Well, I have found that I could just play the videos so that they don't have to hop off to do it.
Okay.
So we just stay on and do it together. Yeah.
So they don't have to push play on their phone or wherever they're navigating from.
Yeah, but they also have it, their computer's playing it, so they don't have to do anything on their phone.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. So that's how.
If I'm not doing it live online, I'm doing mine online completely, I have to always have a little question afterwards so they don't just skip the video, because I can't control them when they're, or make sure that they watch it. So I always have a little reflection question after the video, like what's the main point or what was the purpose? And it really helps firm up, like what is the purpose of this video? So connect to your own teaching. What is something interesting you learned today? And can you see any potential for using Pear Deck in your classroom, or how or what ideas do you have? So go ahead and just take a minute to respond. And after, I kind of want to show you on the back end what it looks like after you've closed out a session and what kind of responses do you get. It's really interesting to see, how you would use this to take attendance or what your students said. So take just a minute. You can again draw or text anywhere on the slide. Okay, so let's see, connect to your own teaching. New app, haven't used it before. Some people can see application or potential. You did some dragging today, and yes, yep, you can use it with PowerPoint, a variety of options. Interested in how to use it in an asynchronous course. So I teach online, so when you go to launch, you just simply click launch so that students do it independently. And in my Canvas, I create an assignment and I say, go to joinpd.com, enter this code, and join. So they join and they go through and they complete all of the activities. And then I give them a week to do it. And then I see the information in Pear Deck, and then I go in and give them the 5 or 10 points for it. For me, it's low stakes. It's just an accountability piece. And so that's why we can create all the instructional materials we want, but unless we hold students accountable for looking at the videos we create or going through the slide decks, they're probably not going to do it. So students have said this has been just such a fun way to go through the slides because I feel like I'm engaged and I'm interacting. And then I always try and go back the next week and say, oh, grab some screenshots from the data and share. Oh, this is what some students have said, or this is how, so they feel like they get some feedback how their classmates responded as well. Yes, to get more students to participate. I learned about Pear Deck. I'm super excited to figure out how to incorporate it. And someone's a drawer and artist. So you can see those student responses there as well. Hands-on creative, yes. Here is our suggestion box, but I would like to pop, before we come back to this, I want to show you the back end of it a little bit. After you have, so again, say you start with your Google Slides, you go to add-ons and add Pear Deck, and then you say, yes, it's okay, yes, it's okay, yes, it's okay. After you're completely done, you click start the lesson, and it's going to give you those options. Do you want to do it synchronously or asynchronously? What I love afterwards is you can go to this very bottom that says review sessions. And again, I'm going to give them permission, and it's still me. They're going to say, is it you? Yep,
Yes,
it's still me. Haven't changed. Yep, I allow you to do this. Okay, so you can see my dashboard of the ones that I've done. You can see these two blue ones right here are student paced, and they're live and open right now. So one is, this is students are in module 4 because we're week 4. And I broke my lesson down into 2 parts. So there's lesson 4 part 1 and there's lesson 4 part 2. So they're launched right now for student paced, and students are filling out that content. We've done some practice sessions. This is one I did for module 2. These are some unnamed sessions, but you can get into the data. There's 2 pieces that I like right here. These pieces right here and this piece here. So let's go into ours, which was today at 2:43. If you select this, or you go here, this is the teacher's dashboard view. So it just takes a minute to load, and I'll go back up to the top. And this is the dashboard, so you can see the responses here. You see your question, and this is really small, but you can see Lori was the sea turtle, Joni was the bird, and you can see how students responded. This is how I collect attendance for my online class, so I can see how each student responded. If you don't do a slide that says add your name, you'll see all of these characters responded, but you won't necessarily know who is who. So it's really important for me to know who completed this, or if something is really unclear, who said what, or if somebody said something, maybe inappropriate or really great, I could respond to it that way. So this is your dashboard view. You can see again who responded what with candy bars. Even on the draggables, I just want to go down real quickly. You can see how your students responded, how the parrot responded, the kangaroo, the crab, each of them responded. So that is the dashboard view, and I love that view. The other view
You know, it's interesting while you're in that view, is every time you clicked on a slide, it changed that slide on my student view. So it's good you didn't pull one of your live ones.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Never mess with the in progress
Okay.
examples.
Yes, exactly. I want to leave this one. I should probably close this session. Okay, so back on my dashboard. So that's how you can see the dashboard. I'm going to show you one that students have already done, so you can kind of see what it looks like on the back end because our session is still open. You can see which ones are live, which ones are closed, which ones students are in. This is one we did for Module 2 with real students. So I'm going to quick go past their names. Close your eyes for like 10 seconds. You go here and say export to a spreadsheet. So it will pull that information out to a spreadsheet. And it goes into Google Sheets if you're at all familiar with Google Sheets, just like Google Forms do. Okay, so I can see, just if I'm curious, who is the eagle, who each student responded. The other thing is you can get all this information here. You can make these bigger. I like to, when I very first get in, take all of the content in my sheets and make it so I can see it. And you can see the data, so you can see how students responded this way as well. So you can look on the dashboard for the drawable ones, because I wanted you to see here, the drawings that we did at the end, it just says drawing, drawing. You don't really get that information. But I organized this a little bit, I print it out, and then I can see how I can tighten it up. So it's typically on like a front and back sheet. You can make these as big or as small as you want them and cut them out just to see how students responded when they went through. And I get a sense of how the lesson is going or how the activity is going because I can see their responses or how they each responded to the questions that we did. So let me get out of that view. So again, the 3 dots is where you go to export it. You can rename your sessions, you can archive them or save them for later, or reopen a session if a student wasn't able to complete it and you had already closed it. So lots of options here. I think what I will do is stop presenting and just see if there's any questions or comments or ideas. I know some of you have probably already used this, so any suggestions that you guys have. Feel free to unmute if you have a question or a comment.
It's not a question, except for that I do love it. You know, I have, and my students really enjoyed it too. You know, the times we've used it. You know, like you said, the anonymous part's nice because low pressure can just be sharing the results. You know, and if they get it wrong, but then I can also be reflecting. So it is a great way just to get feedback right away. So we're enjoying it in our class. The only awkward thing is while you're waiting for some people to respond because it's so quiet, you know.
And the crazy thing is, Andre and I work together, so we develop our slides together. So we take the exact same slides, and maybe I tweak them a little bit for them being asynchronous while the 2 of them do them synchronous. So we start with the Google Slides and what's the content, and then we go with what kind of reflective questions do we want to ask, whether they're online or whether they're face-to-face. So I just think about the student going through a program or a presentation or a lecture without any engagement, like watching a 20-minute video or 30-minute video. And my students, by the time I've typically got like no longer than 4-minute videos embedded, but sometimes I'll have like 2 or 3 or 4 and activities and websites for them to go out and look at and things for them to come back out and do. It typically takes them about 45 minutes to go through one whole activity, but they're engaged the whole time rather than just having it be 45 minutes of non-engagement. So I feel like it simulates as close as I can to a live class session because they're getting information, they're doing something with it. They're getting information, they're going out and exploring a website. They're getting information and then they're responding to it. So other ideas, anybody have any ideas on how they could apply it or any questions or any thoughts? There's not that many of us. Feel free to put your video on if you want. If you're still in your jammies, it's okay, you don't have to. Any thoughts?
I will say what Mary said is give yourself time because, you know, you launch it and then it asks so many questions. It can't be a last minute hop on because it was like so many questions. And then I once closed it and I had to restart and, you know, so just give yourself time.
And you see how many times I had to say, is it you? Is it really you? Is it you in this account? You just, yep, it's me. And then when you go to the data on the back end, is it you? Is it still you? Yep, it's still me. So yeah, add time.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
have a question. So I can take an existing Google slide presentation that I have or do I need to start from scratch? Okay,
I
existing.
started with existing. Yep. So the easiest thing to do if you have a Google slide is you go to, oh, I'm not presenting. Jeez, I make this mistake all the time. I lost them.
I never do that.
Yeah, I know.
Lisa cut that 10 minutes out of the video.
Should I present and show you real quick?
And while she's doing this, Beth, I did see your question about Pear Deck with PowerPoint, and I'm not a big PowerPoint user, and I also have hardly used Pear Deck. But I was just doing a quick search, Pear Deck and PowerPoint in videos, and it looks like they have some help videos about getting started with Pear Deck for Microsoft. And maybe it has to be with Office 365. I'm not sure because it says PowerPoint online.
I looked it up and it was an option. And so how to do it with PowerPoint, and it showed to go to insert and then go to add-ons. But it says our administrator doesn't have Pear Deck right now in it. And so you'd have to talk to your administrator.
I'm not sure who the administrator would be.
I don't
Okay, so this is a slide that I already have, and there's nothing on it. The very first time you go to add-ons.
Yours is Google Slides though, right?
Yep, and it says My Special Ed Resources. So this is a slide deck that's already completely created. If you go to add-ons, the very first time, it's not going to be here, so you go to Get Add-ons. And it's one of the first ones. I think it's gotten so popular lately. It's one of the first ones to pop up. Here's Lucid Charts, Pear Deck, Nearpod, some other add-ons. Click on this one. You can see I've already got these, my top 3, they're already installed. But you'll just click on it and it will install. And so now instead of getting an add-on, it should show up in your list. So I go to Open Pear Deck. And again, these slides are already existing. And then the menu pops up on the right-hand side. And one of the things that I want to show you is this is so cool. This blue piece right here, there's a lot of template slides. When I did it, I just started creating slides from scratch. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll start adding slides. I'm going to go to the very bottom of this file cabinet. And let's take a peek at the template library. So the cool thing about this is they've got some templates for the beginning of the lesson, during the lesson, or the end of the lesson. And they've also got some down here for critical thinking, social, emotional, and then here's some examples from different disciplines that are really cool. They're just good to get you thinking. One of the things I think about these is sometimes they might look a little bit juvenile, but I'll pop this one in here so you can see what it looks like. Sometimes it takes just a moment. And this is a bell ringer. As you come in and get started, follow these instructions. So it's 1, 2, and 3. This one down here says, what did you learn from your homework? So that's a great bridge from whatever activity they should have done before class to after. This is, and they say below, like this is a text slide, this is a drawing slide, so you can see the different kinds of slides. Thumbs up or thumbs down. So those are some of the beginning. There's also some for during the lesson or the end of the lesson. There's some great critical thinking ones. Again, a lot of these are drawing slides. They're going to feature those because they want you to pay the money. Yeah. A text slide, an add-on, I wonder, or I observed, or consider what we need to know. So these are their pre-done slides that you can just pop in there at any point. Looking at some of the science ones, I mean, there's some great content in here. The periodic table is already in here. Drawing, lots of different graphs and things that are already in here. Even though this is a drawing one, I thought, oh, I might use that Venn diagram for something. So don't not go in a slide deck because you think it's, you might not be able to use it, because you can modify it or change it or do whatever you want once you get it up there. So there's a lot already here to kind of play around with. Like I said, sometimes I feel like the characters might be a little bit juvenile, but you can do whatever you want. So this is a pre-done slide and you just click and add your content. If you wanted to just add a slide, you would just start with a blank slide. You can add content. So say this is one that you wanted to add content to, and I wanted to add get out of the library, and I wanted to add a text question to. I just click on the text and it's making it a text slide as we speak. So I would put the question here, what I want students to respond to, or whatever the question is here. And you can see all of a sudden this little banner comes across the bottom and it says students write your response. That's what's going to happen when they do it. And it says this is a Pear Deck text slide. So you can tell that that is the slide there. If you get rid of that, it just gets rid of text slide. So it's really easy to add text, multiple choice. Get this free for 90 days and you can play around with the drawing and the draggable slides. Any other questions or comments, ideas?
So students need to log into that when they first get there in order to, like, because if you're 4 slides in and now you're on a Pear Deck slide, it's going to take some time. Is that what we're saying? So do it at the beginning, but it could be, you could only maybe have 2 Pear Deck slides within a whole presentation, or right?
Right,
And you
absolutely.
insert them where you want them. After
Anywhere you want them.
Our other suggestion, we talked about this earlier, is maybe on all of your slides in one of the corners, you just put the joinpd.com to remind them to go there. Because if you're already in progress, it's going to show the code for your meeting, but they might not remember the joinpd.com part.
Okay.
And the problem with putting it in the chat is if they joined late, they only get the chat from where they're joining. Any other ideas or questions or comments or thoughts?
I sent Callie my PowerPoint on composite functions, and so I haven't put it as a what you call it, a Google slide.
Mm-hmm.
I put it as a Google slide first in order to use this, or can I just download it from my computer to this Pear thing?
When you're in Google Drive, you can upload a new document and you can just upload that PowerPoint and then it says open it with Google Slides. And then you automatically have, like, it takes a minute to convert a PowerPoint to a Google slide. So
I'd have to do that first before I could use that. Okay,
Yep.
that was my question.
Yeah. But you certainly don't have to recreate the Google Slides. You just open it with Google Slides and then you save it as a Google slide. And then you still have your original PowerPoint.
No, I can get with Callie, I guess, when I get with her, and she'll show me how to do the Google slide. So I don't want to waste everybody's time.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, that's it for today. We just wanted to play around with Pear Deck. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Everybody give a hi, bye. Thanks. Joni, I miss you. Don't get to see you that often. Andre, I see you like 3 times a week. Hey, John.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.